Race 2 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup here in Winterberg in Germany. And with red skies heralding perhaps kinder conditions for tomorrow, we'll get our second run underway in just a moment. The deciding run here in Winterberg for the second race of the season. Martin Haven, and alongside me, John Morgan, watching the action on a day that's not quite seen 4 seasons in one day, but it's been close. But we've got a tough battle at the top of our pile.
Tretyakov, the guy who masters the start, well, he made a mistake at the start, lost all his speed, and unlike him, he came down and is only in 3rd place, and he's considerably out of 2nd place to this young German, Axel Jung. This guy is coming on. He's got a great start. He has great technique, great equipment, and this is a rising star in the German program. And I think you're going to see him take over as the guy to challenge Superman. Martins Ducars, approaching 50 World Cup victories, and he just does what he always does at the office on a normal work day. He posts the best velocity all the way down the track, the best finish time. Just another day at the office for Martins Ducars.
Ducars leads by 1800s over Axel Jung. Alexander Tretyakov 4400s back, and as John said, that's a long way to the leader. What it's not a long way from is 4th or 5th or 6th, and that might be where the battle remains for Tretyakov to hang on to the podium after setting the fastest start time. Down in 20th place will be the last man to make the cut, Marco Rohrer, by 100th ahead of a three-way tie. 100th of the second difference, all 4 athletes would have gone through. If he'd set a 93 instead of a 92 down time, 4 guys would have been 20th, and that would have been spectacular record making. Final work going on the sleds, and a little bit of contemplation as well. There's your Olympic champion, Alexander Tretyakov. As ever, John, fastest start, but any error here is going to see you immediately tumble in terms of speed.
Yeah, Curve Zero provides all the challenge. That's where all the shakeup is, and it seems like that's the pivotal part of the track. They call it Curve Zero. Well, they redid this track in the 2006-07 area, put a new start area in, and put a little chink corner in there, Curve Zero. They didn't want to give it a 1. That would have transferred all the numbers of the track and taken away the tradition of the track, which was built way back in the early 70s.
And that's to accommodate the big luge start tower you saw on the right-hand side there. Luge, of course, they don't run. They are seated and paddle off with their hands off the handles, so they need that extra velocity to get them going. So Marco Rohrer, 20th in the first heat. He goes 2nd as we go last to fast in our top 20. The other 6 athletes from Heat 1 have joined the crowd on the sidelines. And we will be finishing off with a slide from Martins Ducars, our first round leader, defending an 1800s lead over young German sensational Axel Jung, who might want to worry, because unfortunately John Morgan has already tipped him as somebody to watch for the future and potentially a race winner today, so kiss of death. Marco Rohrer gets things underway in the second heat here, race 2 of the BMW IBSF Skeleton Men's World Cup in Winterberg in Germany. 20-year-old from Switzerland.
Good leg turnover, drive, his quiet entry under the sled, the load, 5:08. He had a 5:09 in the first round. Start speed, 62.2. Keep your eye on that start speed. I sometimes try and overwork that, but especially with this chink curve, the way you enter onto your sled, get around that first curve, that provides you your speed.
A little bump there against the wall, and every one of those drags speed out of the sled.
It's been got a little colder since the first run. They spritzed the track. Great lighting, as you can see here. Up and down, though, the Kreisel. That's not a consistent line. The feet are together. The exits with that bullet form. Slingshot under the bottom curve, 9. 93.4. Keep track of that speed. And the next big telltale sign is going to be if he can reach 124 plus speed. We saw 129 speed in the first run, so 124.7, that's better than his first speed. And 58.62, well, he just came down the track 40 hundredths quicker. So we do have a quicker track than the first run.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. As the air temperature drops, refrigeration has managed to get rid of the humidity from the air earlier on. Refrigeration system built into the walls and the floor of the track, and that's what keeps the ice on it.
The entry, the load under the sled. Boy, he looks like he got his hips on first. Yeah. We've seen a lot of people enter with their right knee or left knee. Here into the bottom part of the track, and coach, he was a Latvian, also coaches Dukars, didn't like that. Well, one of the places on the track he wasn't happy with.
A Swiss who's helping the Swiss out as well. Nathan Crumpton of the USA, his second ever World Cup race, made it through into 19th spot, 12th fastest start for Nathan, the 30-year-old, and well, he's come late in his career from a career of water buffalo riding in, if his biography is anything to be believed, which possibly isn't.
Well, he's a long jump.
Yep.
Triple jump guy, yeah. Track and field Division I athlete in the US, and favorite athlete, we like to hear this from all the athletes, Jesse Owens. Nobody else has put that down, so
there's
obviously he knows his history of track and field. So nice job in the first run, does not have a very good start. He's got a 1600s lead, head up there, but had really good speed on the bottom part of the track, which provided him the 19th position to have his first time he qualified for second run.
Nicely here from Marco Rohrer, who had a much better second run than he did at first. 90.5 into the Kreisel. Lifelong ambition to be a teenage mutant ninja turtle. He says that may have escaped me now.
Speed, he's a kilometer better than the Swiss at the bottom.
Look at the gap, half a second quicker. Now, this getting into the second heat, what a relief.
126.
Takes the pressure off, and look at the result, 58.09. That would have left him in 11th place in the first heat.
He just went 85 hundredths of a second better. Now, he started like 18th or 19th in the first run, so
yeah, 24th start, he was 19th at the bottom, but that relaxation on the sled of having made the cut for the first time in his career, that's what allows him to flow down the track. The track is quicker than it was in the first heat, and certainly perhaps than when he was going down 24th out of our 26 starters.
He had bad ice to work with. Hey, he just proved why he emerged as USA 2 in this field. He can really fly in the bottom part of the track. Obviously a great athlete.
Multiple US champion Eric Benotis now coaching Team Great Britain. Ed Smith at the line. Ed off 2 hip-hops during the summer. Not a kind of dance thing. Hip operations. Only 20th in the field when he should be in the top half dozen starters on pace.
I wonder if though that hip operations are affecting his ability to ride the sled too, because this is not the Ed Smith we've seen in the past couple of years he's been out on tour.
You take away the speed he's used to carrying into these corners, and suddenly it's a different track from the one that he's familiar with. So all of that takes some getting used to as well.
He's only got 100th. Separation, could be red numbers here. Yep, he's falling behind, but he's a great rider. Head down here in the Kreisel. Let's watch him. His line, is it consistent? Does he leak up into the outlet here?
A little slower than Nathan Crumpton on the way in. Did he keep more speed on the way out? No.
93.8 does not have the speed that Crumpton had at all. And now the question is how he's going to fall behind here. But he'll stay in front of the other athlete. Plus 2/10. 126 that Crumpton had, that was pretty good.
So Nathan Crumpton still has the lead, and Ed Smith drops to second by a quarter of a second.
58.48 though, that's still 3,200 better than his run, so we have a faster track to work with for at least the first 6, 8, 10 sliders. Then it's going to neutral, go into that, get frosty, get a little cut up.
Well, or is it? It depends how good the trackmeister is at keeping the ice constant. That's the battle as the weather changes to keep the ice the same. High dink up on curve 0.
Can't do that. I mean, it's especially when you don't have that great start. But boy, he corrected well, but no start velocity and no start time results in not a great time at the bottom.
I was walking down the track yesterday and I was thinking, how many tracks have a counterclockwise Kreisel?
Yes, well, we got Innsbruck.
Yeah, so 2. 'Cause
2 out of 4.
Yeah, okay. All right, 50%, I'll give you that. Bear Martineau next up, 13th at the start with a 5:07, 17th at the bottom of the track.
Really, really quiet entry onto the sled. 5:07 should get 6.9. He hit there. So start speed 62 low. Not good for having the best start. To have it second best start, he should have been better than that.
Still just 24 years old. Last year was his rookie season in the World Cup.
Big lead now he's got on the American at the bottom.
Last race on this track, first at the senior level, was the World Championships. He was 20th here in February, 90.2 Ks. That's decent speed, but Crumpton was quicker.
Still got a lot of time in the bank. Oh, it's not a 7, 93.9. That's not what the Crumpton had. So
no.
This could be, if he doesn't get 125 kilometers, he could get.
Even if he does, Crumpton was 126. He needs 126
on the nose should be enough. Good speed on the bottom. This should be right to the 100. It is 500s. So great speed in the bottom. Hey, Nathan, not a bad result.
Yeah. Well, Nathan Crumpton, 2 races into his World Cup career, made the cut and improved.
This is second year for Barrett Martineau, the ski jumper. Good technique. Well, if you're a ski jumper, you can only compete if you have good technique. And he's got good technique. He needs to improve at the start, but he wasn't very happy in his first run, remember? Oh, he was a real, look at him lean, look at his foot come out. He's trying to set himself up for that zero curve, which is the ultimate challenge. And boy, you see the right toe tap, left toe tap, a little bit of a bang. 62.1 speed. You gotta have 62.5 or more speed to compete.
Zigging and zagging down there into turn 0.
He's the leader.
Hiro Takahashi from Japan. Katsuhiro Koshi, the coach there in the background. 16th after the first of our 2 heats for Hiro. Off a 16th fastest start, 5:08. Trying to rebuild the performance that these athletes had a couple of years ago, 3 seasons ago now. It's starting to fade away.
7th place a couple times. There was 2 Japanese in the top 10 in a couple of races there.
Shinsuke Tayama was his teammate for 2 seasons back, and they just all seem to be coming together. 62.7, best first corner velocity we've seen so far in this second heat.
He's got a huge half-second lead, but you would expect that. This is an experienced athlete here.
He's 3,300s up on Barrett Martineau, our current leader from the first heat. He opens that up to 4,400s. 90.7 again, best speed we've seen.
He's from Nagano, so he's got that experience of the track.
Japanese-built sled.
M-Project sled.
Japanese-built bobsled is progressing as well. Not sure we're going to see it on tour this year, though.
His favorite movies? Jackie Chan movies. Good speed, 125.6 or 125.9. Good, 58.07. That's what you expect out of him. 2,200s, 3,200s better. Faster track for him, too.
Yep. Only 200s quicker than Nathan Crumpton with his experience. So again, you know, Crumpton's going to look at
did pretty good.
His second run figures and go, okay.
Hey, Crumpton did good in the first run, starting 24th and bringing that speed into the finish. So you could bring speed off a 24 start with a chopped up track. Here's the exit at 9. I think that's pretty good. We'll see how good it is here. Looked a little late there and bounced a little bit onto the 9 to 10. It's great pictures.
Any energy that bounces you up and down is energy that's not driving you forward, though. Hiro Takahashi, Barrett Martineau, Nathan Crumpton, the top 3, 15 still to come here in Winterberg. Up until the World Championships in February, Han-Sin Lee of Korea had never... Matthias Kuchenberger first, I'm getting ahead of myself, with Mickey Grunberger putting the sled down. 7th fastest start for Googie, and it all came unraveled down the track.
Well, start, 5:04, speed, 62.2. Here's another athlete that struggled with injuries 3 or 4 years ago, with back injuries. That he didn't hurt himself on the track. He hurt himself coming off the track, getting into his car. Yeah. And really cost him a couple seasons, and he's just coming back. And he had better results 2010-11 season. You know, the sport is the full package. Your health, your extreme sport instinct to travel down the track with your chin inches off the ice and have that fearless attitude, and of course your athleticism. And if you don't have your health, you don't have your athleticism.
Yeah. You pay for it every second of the day in every inch of the race. 125
No speed.
Not enough. And Googie is going to drop back into
one spot.
Second place.
Still stays ahead of Martineau and Crumpton of the US and Canada.
And that's on his first round advantage because he didn't have much speed on board in that second run. And
look at his body language, you can tell. He's hoping much better, you know, with the World Championships coming up here to Austria.
Not keen for that, was he?
No, he could have done better than that. Look at the lines. He's a little high there, Kreis. Then he flattened out. Then he had to come back up on the exit. And that's an experienced slider making a mistake at a pivotal part of the track. And look, you think he's happy?
Straight off the changing room. Likes it, and not very much. Hansen Lear career, as I was about to say, first time he ever saw this track was in the World Championships last year. He's only done 3 races in Europe. No, make that 4 now. He's been to Altenburg as well. Most of his career, therefore, in North America. Richard Bromley with the sled for the Koreans, both sliding on Bromley's.
Start, doesn't get a great start. 5:03, so 62 flat, 62.7. There. Now there's somebody who had good technique getting on the sled. Didn't have the best start, but I think that's the best speed we've seen so far.
62.7, yeah, ties with Hiro Takahashi as the top speed through the first trap.
And now he doesn't have that big a lead.
10th of a second, can go in a
18,
half.
that's great.
Okay, here we go. A little bit of toe
91.
steering. Now, is this where the Bromley sled setup is starting to come in?
Doesn't look comfortable on the sled, though, on the exit of Kreisel.
But he's still producing the numbers.
Speed,
there you go. So he's got a wild setup underneath him. And he's having to let it fly a little.
Scratchy. So he should have 125. No, it's coming down. It's going to be 125-1. This is going to be close. Single digits.
Up the line.
There it is.
Just in front.
So a Korean beats the Japanese. The Asian Championships coming up here pretty quick.
58.07, same time as Takahashi down the track. From a start that was 200s quicker. So he survives on his first round advantage. Smile from him as he goes into the leader's box. Charles, the Canadian down the bottom, who's helping with the coaching.
Hey, good technique here because he had good speed. It looks like the right knee came down first.
That's Matthias Guggenberger we're seeing again. That's Googie's helmet, and that was Mickey Grunberger in the background. So, unfortunately, that was a replay of the previous athlete. But
he's pretty happy with it.
Rightly so. So, Pavel Kulikov of Russia now, 6th fastest starter, and at the top are his 3 female teammates who all raced a little earlier this afternoon.
Disappointing results for those 3.
Yeah, but look, they don't look too heartbroken at the moment. There's Yulia Kanakina leading the cheerleading. Here, Oliver on the left. And Yelena Nikita on the right as well.
Driving a Willie Schneider sled. Willie, the West German, who ended up competing for Germany at the 2002 Games when Skeleton made its comeback into the Olympic program. And he's coaching the Russians successfully to the gold medal in 2014, and they're sliding on his equipment. Willie's a sly fox in the sport.
400s ahead of Lee after the first heat, but he has dropped back and he's a kilometre behind.
He's a young athlete, young slider. We saw him a couple times last year at Lake Placid in Park City, or Lake Placid in Calgary. And he's going to need to have some afterburners here. Oh, now the question is he going to fall more than one? He might fall 2 places. He could fall at least 2. Yes, he does.
Didn't have the speed that the Bromley sleds had.
He never had it going. He never had anything going at the start. Exit is 0. And, you know, how old is the guy? He's only 23. Yeah, he's another youngster. You're going to see him around. Of course, Russia's, because they say Russia's got like 20 guys. They're all sprinters like Trechikov, all down in the Europa Cup.
They always say that. Pavel Kulikov, though.
Here's around 0 curve. Wonder why he's got no speed with a decent start. bang. That doesn't seem like much. Look at the skid coming across the ice. Toe drag.
Yep. Anything where you're correcting out of turn one, it's going to be a long run down the hill. So Kulikov slips to third. It is Hansen Lee of Korea who leads. Matti Gaspari, another youngster, just 22 years old, this Italian. It's their sole representative at the moment. Maurizio Oioli, I think, has pretty much retired. It's now in the hands of Matti Gaspari to represent the Valle Italia.
Start, 8th best start, 509, 62. 61, not very good. But this athlete here was the most impressive on the bottom part of the track, coming late. He started 16th, and he manufactured speed down at the bottom, and he's going to need to do it again. He's at a deficit now to Lee from Korea, who's in the leader's box.
Now the question is, it seemed that his setup in the first heat really suited how the track was then. What about how the track is now? 90.0, kilometre now down on Lee, and he's already behind on time.
And the athlete from near Cortina. Going to need to find another fast speed in the bottom. He doesn't have it going, but going to need 126 speed to have a chance. He's way off the pace. He's going to drop 3 places.
I'll tell you what, he's not far away. He might pick up a couple more, and he's in, well, 7th for this run is not as much as we would expect, because he really found speed in the last couple of corners. He drops 3 spots to 4th. Hansen Lee leads with 11 sleds to go.
Still not a bad result for him.
Yep.
8th best start. Didn't manufacture the speed like he had in the first round. Kreisel, feet apart. Is he consistent? You can see those drive lines. He stays pretty much around them. He heads up a little bit. Does he come on the outlet? Yeah. Flops off there. That's why, look at that little body movement there. He didn't have the speed.
Did half a season last year, his first in World Cup. Best result was 13th in Koenigsegg, where we will be next year. That was his career high.
Next week.
Next week. Yeah, next week.
Near the end of next year.
Tied for 11th this year. Tied for 11th with Matti Gaspari, Dave Krecheshin of Canada. 30-year-old from just outside Toronto.
I think he's more than 30. He's 36.
You may be right.
Might be the oldest guy in the field. We hate to bring that up. I think it's him and Thomas Dukas.
Dukas is 34.
30-62 flat. Not bad for what he generated there, 509. And the biggest, I say the thickest man in the field, rugby player, needs to manufacture some speed. Listen to the sound of these food trays coming down the track.
91.1 is the highest speed into the Chrysler we've seen so far.
94.7.
That's the highest of it as well. Excellent speed from Dave Krecheshin of Canada. Now, can he crack 126 down at the bottom to put himself
down at
into
12.
the lead?
Going to need the big speed. Doesn't have it. He's going to fall at least 1 spot.
Come on, Grizz. Is he going to make it up at the line? No. Lee leads with 10 to go.
5 sleds he's moved up. Wow. Still good run, 58.23 for Grizz.
Yeah, but Lee came down in 58.07. Is the track changing?
Well, the Korean coaches told me, Christian Bromley, that they expected both Korean sleds to do very well. And if the other Korean sled does as well as this guy's doing, he could challenge for a medal. Yeah, look at the form. Look how long Dave Gershevy is here. Look at this. Look at the form he's got. That's pretty good. That's why he had the best speed. Look at that. Pure slider there. Just gave up a little time top of the track.
Hansen Lee leads with 10 sleds still to come. The sun is down, well below the yard arm. Hansen Lee from Hiro Takahashi and Dave Krecheshin. That's your top 3, with the remaining 10 sliders still to come, battling for victory here in Winterberg. Well, sun's gone, and with it, whatever little bit of temperature remained in the afternoon. It was cold and grey and damp and drizzly and bleak this morning, and then we had a little hour or two of blue sky. You can see the remnants of the sunset. It glowed red over there, and that hopefully will be a portent for good weather tomorrow. Han-Sin Lee of Korea is our current race leader. That Siberian tiger on his helmet. And he's already picked up 5 spots. 16th after the first heat, beg your pardon, 14th after the first heat. And he leads with 10 to go. And certainly Richard Bromley was hoping that the setup that they had got, based on what they saw in the first heat, should work well in the second heat as well. And the problem here is you're always chasing the track. Unlike Formula One, where you might get 2 or 3 hours of track time before you even get to race, here you get 6 runs in training tops. So that's 6 minutes of experience spread over 3 days, and then another 2 minutes on ice in the race itself. Then you go away and you come back another year.
So today's winner in the women's skeleton race, Tina Hermann of Germany. She takes over the World Cup lead with 2nd place last week. Look at this beautiful shot. That's the Omega curve up top. Look, you can see it's uphill. So here they get the section around this curve 3, then you come in uphill. So boy, you can't make any mistakes here in this uphill section of the track. I mean, that's a graveyard section with any mistake.
Yeah, definitely. A few Latvian fans, some Germans, some Brits, Canadians and Americans and what have you, and lots of athletes supporting at the top as well. The women who raced earlier, a lot of them are still trackside, supporting their male teammates. The lights burning brightly here in Winterberg as we get ready to decide the medals. 10 to go in Winterberg. The noise at the top tells you the Russians are coming. Martin Haber and John Morgan watching the action as Nikita Tregibov looks to try and improve on a disappointing 10th place finish in the first heat.
Didn't have very good first heat for this young Russian. With this start time he's got, and the tag we got on him is the next great Russian hope. He didn't do very good. 62.5, not a bad velocity, better than he had the first round.
Part of that was the start. Again, only the 8th fastest start in the first heat. And he needs to find more if he's going to beat his teammate even.
Yeah, that seems to start. He had a rocket start last year. Maybe he's going to peak in the World Championships in February. Boy, up and down there, that take on, he hit it hard. Lost a little bit. Had quite a lead. Let's see if he can match some good speeds down here. Boy, he doesn't have the speed. This is the same problem he had the first heat.
The joint lowest speed into the Kreisel, the single lowest speed off the Kreisel.
Boy,
whatever setup here, Sled, it is not working.
This is 25. He's going to be red numbers right here, right to the 100th. There it is.
Wow, don't believe it.
Well, give him
doesn't believe it either. A top 10 finish snatched away, potentially.
Give the young Russian athlete a little ado here for holding on. He was bleeding it all the way down from the Kreisel, as you said, the worst speed, and he hung in there. But he doesn't belong back here in 10th place. This is a young phenom right here.
Lee would be thrilled with 10th, and he's disgusted with it.
Little skid here, 5 to 6 or 8 to 9. Watch the bump. This is going to touch him here before he gets on the take on. This is going to force him into the middle of the curve. Look at his feet hanging off to the left. And, hey, 100th of a second, boy, that isn't much in 2 descents down the track.
Yep. Lee just out of the top 10. He would have been really happy with that. Next up for Great Britain, Dom Parsons. Last of our British entries in the field. 9th place after the first heat. He was 700ths ahead of Tregibov. That's a big start. Only 5:01 in the first heat.
Velocity could assist that. See if he gets around 0. Look, it's pretty good. Let's see, he should get 62.4, 62.2. Yeah, he's behind Tregibov from Russia.
Riding Bromley Sled like Han-Sin Lee, like Sundin Jung, and a whole host of others in the team or in the field. So has Richard Bromley been able to give him some setup advice that will work from here?
+6, maybe +8 at the next clock. Need to stop the bidding on +1. Well, Tregibov did not have very good speed into the Kreisel. And
Parsons is going nearly half a kilometre an hour quicker.
In the green, but now he's not worried about
the
athletes that just came down. He's worried about moving up 3 or 4 spots here with his good speed. If he gets 126 here at the bottom, he can move up a couple spots.
Oh, little touch. Late exit.
He's got the 126. That's the best speed we've seen in this run so far.
And Dom comes across the line, 58.6. There you go, that's a better run. Still not the fastest of the heat. We've had two 58.07s and a 58.09.
But they went down early.
Yeah.
Track's cut up, but hey, that's the type of consistent run you expect from this British veteran. And,
Yep.
you know, he won the event, or won a medal in the first North America, part of the North American tour last year. And, you know, you expect this guy to have good lines. He's got great equipment. A little touch there before the take-on, and watch this. Come across, and that's in the labyrinths.
Yeah, puts him into a skid for the next element. You have to work harder to correct it, but Dom Parsons has the lead with 8 to go, of whom 3 are Germans. This is the youngest, Michael Sakrau. Made his World Cup debut in Sochi in February. He was 15th on his debut. Last weekend in Altenburg, 8th, so he halved his average, and he is 8th here.
A lot of noise as expected. 507 in the first run, 506 here. Well, that looked pretty clean. Let's see if he doesn't have the velocity though. Maybe he steered too much. 62.2, he's got quite a lead. Parsons, 1700s, boy, that's not going to help him.
It was 1900s in the first heat. He's down to 900s.
But he banged out of the exit of Omega. Going to need a pretty good lines here. Watch him with his head down. Going to need a perfect Kreisel. That's not Dom Parsons' speed there.
Not quite.
Head comes up there right at the exit of the Kreisel.
Slender lead. He was looking for the exit he needed.
Oh, down to 194. This is going to be another one.
Slower than Parsons. Parsons was 126.1 at the bottom. The finish curve will probably decide it. Good run through the labyrinth.
124, nowhere near the speed.
Unless he knows a shortcut.
Oh, they're going to drop one. 11th best time. The track is gone. I'm telling you, the track does not have the speed left in it.
That's a mistake. That's a mistake.
Yeah, mistake. For the German not to have a better 11th best time in this run.
Yeah.
But he's young. It's his second season on the World Cup Tour.
It's only his 3rd ever World Cup race, so yeah. Sochi was his only race last year, so it's effectively his rookie season. But,
here's up top. Watch how late he is out of 3. Yeah. Omega. Bang. Then down here. 10. Speed part of the track. Looks like it got away from him there, too.
Making the errors in Heat 2 that Dom Parsons made in Heat 1 and then tidied up. So that kind of flip-flops. 21-year-olds, lots of time for more learning. He's pretty happy with himself.
Ski jumping.
Yeah.
Right.
At least he chose a safer sport to move on to. Matt Antoine of the USA. 5:19 getaway. Antoine recovering after more surgery during the summer. It was only the 24th fastest start out of a field of 26, which is not where Olympic bronze medals are earned, that's for sure. So,
but he did show us why he won an Olympic bronze medal on the bottom part of the track with the 126 plus speed, one of the best speeds on the bottom part of the track, 127 speed. So he needs to be technically perfect. 517, 518, good load onto the sled. Ooh, a little steering there. 517, there's that. Clean. 62 flat would be great. 61.7. But he was awesome in the bottom part of the track, and he's going to need to be.
Drive up a storm, absolutely. Needs everything now. 200s behind.
He'll be 6 or 7 at the next one.
Well, he was 100th ahead of Sakrau, and he was 2/10 exactly clear of our current leader, Dom Parsons.
Good sign there. It's only 500, so it's big leading, as we say.
Top speed apart from Dave Krecheshin.
Well, this is what he did. The 94.5. That's great speed. Watch the form here. Out of 9. Good. 10. Look at his feet. Look at his steer.
Into 126.
He had it in the first run. Oh, he's +7. That's not good. 125.8. I don't know if he's going to do it. Don't think he's got the speed in the second run.
No, won't catch Dom Parsons.
Going to drop 2 places
in the leader box.
Didn't have that magical speed in the bottom like we saw him have in the first run. And of course, when you have the deficient start, he had the 14th best start of 17 sleds. You have to be perfect the rest of the way down. But he'll get back at form. He'll get his start. When he gets his start back, he'll go back to getting in the podium.
Dom Parsons last year, top finishes, 2 4th places, Koenigsegg and St. Moritz.
Look at him put his head down there, the bottom part of the track, but he didn't manufacture the speed like he did in the first run.
He was giving it everything, and the track just moved away from perfect for him. Christopher Groothaer of Germany, junior world champion Groothaer in 2015, tied with Nikita Tregebov, who was also the 2013 junior world champion.
Not a bad start, 5:03 in the first run. Quiet, low down, see if he can negotiate the zero curve. See if he's rewarded with a decent speed. Yeah, 62.4.
Fastest we've seen apart from Tregebov.
Good form here. Made some mistakes in the first run. I think he'd have been the top. Could have moved up at least 1 or 2 spots. Get his head down, a lot of confidence. He should be. It's one of his home tracks. Boy, 4/10. Look at the form. Didn't vary one bit on the entrance into the Kreisel. The line is consistent. Speed, great.
Textbook stuff from him. Christopher Groothaer looking very strong here. 94.3, not quite as quick as some we've seen.
But he's got 4/10 in the bank. Now the question is, can he put down a good enough speed in the bottom so have a chance to move up? A good speed to be anything over 126. And he's got flat 26, so 3/10, 37 hundredths. I don't know if that's good enough to move up. Dom, still a good day.
100th quicker than Dom Parsons on that run. 36 hundredths quicker in the first heat, so 37 hundredths is the total advantage.
He beat him by 2 hundredths only at the start, but Groothaer had the home track advantage. And
well, he was only a hundredth quicker on the whole distance of the track, so he had nothing over Parsons in the second heat. That's all from the first.
Quiet onto the sled, the load, into the finish. We've seen people lose some time here. The electric guy's right in your right. Uphill.
Well, the track conditions for he and Dom Parsons were the same in the first heat. Dom went 10th, Christopher Groothaer went 11th. And they've only gone 2 minutes apart here, so Dom definitely lost out in the first run. Thomas Dukos of Latvia, 8th fastest at the start, which is unusually off the pace for him, but 5th by the bottom of the track. So
started 5th and finished 5th.
498, first getaway.
Look at him run outside the line. Now see that line? His feet were outside the line. Watch the next couple guys. Use that as a reference point. 496, better start. This should be good speed here. 62.6, best speed of the heat so far, as expected from one of the tallest men of the competition and probably the most experienced man in the competition.
Hiro Takahashi and Hansen Lee both had 62.7 out of the first turn, so they actually had even more momentum.
Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time
12,
ago.
13 sleds ago.
Yeah. And he busted out a much quicker start than them, so I'm saying that it's a little frosty up at the top. 90 kilometers now onto the Kreisel, 93.8 off it. That's not as good as the last 3 or 4
He's only down
sleds.
at 900ths. He only had 400ths in the first heat. He's going to need that 126 number. It's down to 3. He's going to need the speed.
He's not going to
but
get
he doesn't
it.
have it. He's going right to the 100. Too close to call. Either way.
Oh,
there.
Behind. Christopher Groothaer moves up a spot. 58.22.
Look at him. I don't know why they do that. You can get hurt doing that, stopping yourself like that. How about your toes?
It's just the way they do it. Well,
I think he's just angry with himself
better than
for not
sticking
making
your hands out front, that's for sure, because that will break a wrist.
The veteran of the Dukars brothers. Look at his feet now. He's outside those lines. So you're going to see people running inside the line with both feet, including his brother.
Well,
different technique. 6'3".
6'3", yeah.
So he's taller, so maybe that's a different leverage point.
But, as you say, force moving the sled sideways isn't moving it forward. Thomas Dukos slips 1. Dom Parsons lies 3rd. But it's Christopher Groothaer who leads with 5 to come. Somin Yuna, Korea, 2nd fastest starter and within shouting distance of the medals here. Just 600s out of the top 3. Look at Iron Man's leg turnover. It's ridiculous.
Powerful. Best start so far. Head's way up, though. See what he kind of... 62.9. That's a statement there.
The only race he had on this track before was last year's World Championships. It's only the 2nd time he's ever been in town.
Christian Bromley, his coach, and Also the builder of a sled. Hopes, high hopes for him in this race. Last week in Altenburg, 12th. Pretty disastrous finish, but of course he'd never been to Altenburg. And Altenburg does that to a lot of people. Boy, a little high there, mistake. That shouldn't cost him too much. Oh, hit there too. Hit twice at exit of 9, or exit of Kreisel and entrance to 9.
Gap's going to come down. He'll have enough to stay in front of Grothair, but does he have enough?
Does he have enough in this? 125, that's good speed. He should stay in front, single digits. There, 9. Not the one I think the Koreans wanted out of Sundin. They're happy with it, Christian Bromley, but the Ironman made some mistakes. Korean fans.
Well, they'll be operating the track in Pyeongchang.
He knows. Yeah. He knows. You can tell.
Got away from him.
Won medals twice last year on the World Cup Tour. Not happy with that.
We've seen 3 of the last 6 sliders give time away.
Okay, now watch the consistent line. He comes down here. Back up, back down, and then back up in the outlet. And when he comes back up in the outlet the second time, this is not the line you want on the crossover and exit from Kreisel.
In his life, he's not had 20 runs down this track. And he's up against a guy who's been sliding here for a decade and more, Alexander Tretyakov. He's up against a local hero. He's up against a 6-time World Cup champion. But which of them won't hold their top 3 spot?
And the Russian Rocket, look where his feet are. They're on the line. Nice entry. He had some mistakes here at curve 0.
Oh, 476.
What type of speed, though? 63.5. Now, he didn't have that in the first run. He only had 62 speed. He made the mistake around curve 0, lost his velocity, and I think Mr. Tretyakov could put down a good run here. Now, all the other Russian sleds have faltered in speed on the bottom part of the track. Let's see what this Olympic gold medalist from Sochi can do.
Yeah. How much of the advice from Willi Schneider does he take as gospel, and how much does he meld with his own thoughts?
Speed here, 93.7, not that great. 2700ths, it's a lot of time for him to throw away here. This is for a medal.
Anything over 124 at the bottom, he's in the medal.
126, 125.7. This is a bronze medal, maybe better, you don't know yet. Perfect. 3100, 57.88, much better start. 4700ths worse than his first run. That's related to track conditions. It's all scratched up. Best time and speeds are available to the people who go early, but of course those are the people that are in 15th place and back.
Looks a little happier with that than he did with the first heat.
The Russian Rocket. Now look at his feet. Now see that? Are on the line. Then it crosses over. Much quieter load under the sled than we saw in the first run, where he had almost a full kilometer speed deficiency.
Quicker start as well. So how does he do that? How does he balance that explosion with the soft landing? Axel Jung, second at the top, second at the bottom. 491 getaway, but we've just seen Tretyakov start 1900ths quicker.
Well, this young German athlete, this is a guy to watch. This could be a superstar in the making for Germany. He's got everything. The start, he's got the equipment, he's got the athleticism, and he's starting to prove out how good he is.
2200ths ahead after the first heat, but Tretyakov just started 1900ths quicker.
93.200ths worse. So speed though, speed of left 62.5. So he's almost a kilometer down to Tretyakov. He's already in red numbers.
Yeah.
But Tretyakov did not have what I call great numbers on the bottom part of the track and speed. This kid did.
So what can the FES sled do? Will Axel Jung be able to find the pace?
Look at the feet. Watch the entry here to Kreisel. Oh, that was the mistake there. 92 is not bad. Consistent line.
Fraction quicker than Tretyakov, who had 93.7 here. Jung behind.
93.7, only 500s, but that's decent speed. If he gets into that 126 magic spot down below with the speed, he has a chance here.
Ooh, a lot of steering.
Oh, he's going to do it.
Axel Jung very close.
Right to the 100th of a second.
The leader really takes silver here.
Oh, it's tight.
Joint silver medals potentially for Alexander Tretyakov and Axel Jung.
This is the personality of this track. We saw so many ties at the World Championships last year. I sort of like it. Have them both share a silver medal.
Yeah, why not?
100th of a second. Way to go. This is superstar in the making here, too. This is the future of the sport in Germany, right there.
24-year-old Axel Jung and 30-year-old Olympic champion Alexander Tretyakov tied to the 100th.
With manufacturer speed on the bottom of a track that he knows well. Germans needed this. They have not had a good starting skeleton athlete in our memory. Just think of it.
Yeah.
They've always had good people down the track. Well, here's another story.
Martin Stukurs of Latvia. New season, new beard. Same Martin Stukurs underneath. One race, one win so far for the 6-time consecutive World Cup champion and the wearer of the World Cup leaders' yellow vest.
Look at his feet. Quiet load. See if he gets around curve 0, 47. It's pretty good. See if he gets to 63 speed. 63.1, as expected. We saw Axel Jung make a little mistake on the entrance to Kreis. Superman here, though.
Uphill, couple of little counter steers just to keep the sled tracking straight.
Pretty smooth there. Excellent. Look at his feet here. Yeah. Goes in the middle. 90.8. Whoa.
Here we go.
Exit, perfect.
Drops it into top gear off the Kreisel.
Oh, he's
94.5.
Okay. This is like a video game. This is why he's won almost 50 World Cup races. This is why we call him Superman. This is unbelievable. When the pressure is on, look at the way he delivers.
Alexander Tretyakov,
fastest time of the run.
Our second. Martin Stukurs wins it.
Another day at the office.
57.76 slide, and that was half a second slower than his first heat and more, but it doesn't matter. It was enough to extend his 1800s advantage in the first heat to a 5600s advantage. Last week he won by 5500s, this week by 5600s.
And he's such a humble athlete. He approaches, you know, I mean, he doesn't get excited. He treats everybody squarely. I mean, he is a great representative of the sport and his country. Sportsman of the Year in 2013 in his country.
I think you almost wonder who else wants to go into Sportsman of the Year in Latvia, because Martin Stukurs just has year after year after year of success. Another victory for him. He won in Altenburg last week. He wins in Winterberg here. Thomas finishing a little off the boil in 6th position. Start of last year, the brothers had 3 1-2 family finishes.
Well, he just does it at the start with the top starts, and he has the best speeds in and out of the pivotal parts of the track. His positioning on the sled is like a video game teaching tool. I mean, look at him. I mean, what can you say? He's doesn't make any mistakes when the pressure's on, and the record, his record has got to be, he's won like medals in like 50 out of 52 competitions or something like that.
One of the greatest in all sports, definitely. Martin Stukurs wins in Winterberg in Germany. Axel Jung second, tied with Alexander Tretyakov for the home team. Sunbin Jung, Christopher Groth here, and Thomas Stukurs round out the top half dozen. Well, after the first heat, he was only 1800s up, 4400s ahead of Tretyakov, and yet he extended the lead over Tretyakov and Jung to half a second and change. So once more, he found more in the tank. He was 4th fastest starter in Heat 1, John, 2nd fastest starter in Heat 2, so he found it everywhere from the moment he laid the sled on the ice to the moment he picked it up at the far side.
You know, when he won by 5600s over Tretyakov and Axel Jung, but Tretyakov had problems in the first run, and he was like almost 3/4 of a kilometer down in his start speed, second run to first run, and that cost him, I think he would have lost the race to Ducar's, you know, eventually, but maybe only by 2/10, because Tretiakov had the second fastest time of the run, or of the top 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, for typical IBSF, 4 different nations in the top 4. The sport is spread out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's a great advertisement when you get 4 different nations.
6 nations in the top 10.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So we've got 2 Latvians, all 3 Germans in the top 10. Axel Jung, silver medal position. Christopher Groother in 5th, and Mikhail Zagrau, the rookie, in 8th place. Matt Antoine in 9th off the 20th start, off the slowest start in the cut. Could have had 24 sliders in our top 20 in the second heat. But as it is, we ended up with a victory for Martins Ducours, who appears to be, again, in stunning form at the start of the season.
Well, you know, what can we say? The guy is the best ever in the sport. And his age, he's still doing what you need to do at the start time. He knows the equipment is probably as good as anybody. And he's very humble in victory, which says a lot about him.
And there he is on the right-hand side. 2 silver medalists, which is why Alexander Tretiakov is in the middle. So that means no bronze. We go straight to 4th place. So there's your race winner. Just 31 years old. Tretiakov 30. Axel Jung, though, the future for Germany, 24 years old on the podium in a joint silver medal here. And that is his best ever World Cup finish last year. He had no podiums, finishing 3rd in the season standings, the best non-Latvian in the business, ahead of Tretiakov. And that's it for Winterberg, Germany. In a week's time, they do it all again in Königssee, in deepest Bavaria. Until then, from John Morgan, from the IBSF TV crew, and from me, Martin Haven, it's Auf Wiedersehen. We'll see you then. Bye for now.